Okay, so I was just doing a recap on what we've done, the steps that we needed to take, and then the completion is that you do your calculation of your focus factor, and then you have your real capacity. And we know we have all the formulas that we needed. They're on the slide and definitely will be in the. So these are just a recap of the formulas or the that you need to do your calculation. You have the sprint hours, which is your standard hours per day times your sprint duration. Your available capacity is your sprint hours. You deduct your Scrum events and other meetings from your sprint hours. For your focus factor is your team standard available capacity divided by the team standard, and then you multiply it by 100. And then for your real capacity is your team members available capacity times the focus factor in order to be able to get your real capacity. Okay, so because of the time we have, I'm just going to go straight into the Scrum chart. Yeah. Okay, so for the Scrum chart, you have the velocity. We'll be looking at our velocity burn-down chart and the burn-down, the velocity chart and the burn-down chart. We'll be looking at what it means, what they use for, the types, what is the benefits. We look at some samples, the location on the Azure, if we're able to get that far. If not, we'll look at it at another time. We'll look at the source and then how you generate it, which I think while we're doing the setup yesterday, we did show how you can generate it, but we didn't show how you can configure it. So we'll be able to look at that also. So quickly, we just want to look at what are Scrum charts. They are metrics that gives graphical representation, which it displays the process and the progress of a Scrum team work over a definite time. It gives you real information, okay, of what is happening, what has been happening, the progress of work during your sprint. It looks at the pace also of work that is being done. It gives you a graphical representation of this during the sprint. Why do we need it? So we can use it to visualize the project. You can use it also to measure the amount of work that has been completed against the time that is still available over, a period of time that you need to work. You use it to measure and you use it to plan against what has been completed. It helps you to forecast also, like a velocity chart helps you to forecast on what the team can work based on their performance, because it records that. And then, like I said, it helps you to forecast for the future. How have we been working, and helps you to improve also. How have we been working? How do we want to work going forward? What is our performance and our progress, the pace at which we're working? How can we improve as we go forward? You're able to use your Scrum charts to do that. And then the types of Scrum charts that we have the burn down chart, we have the burn up chart, velocity chart, cumulative flow diagram, capacity chart, work item chart, sprint overview chart, code chart, pipeline chart, test plan chart. While we were doing the Azure DevOps yesterday, and I was picking all those chart widgets from the dashboard, you did see some of them. For the purpose of this training, we're just going to pick the burn-down chart and the velocity chart alone to talk about. So I'm going to go to the burn-down chart first. Okay, so what's your burn-down chart? Again, we say charts are visual representation. Okay, they're graphical or visual representation. So your burn-down chart also is a visual representation that shows the work progress of a team in a sprint. It displays what has been done, what you've completed, what is remaining within a timeline, and it can help to motivate you. So one of the things, or some of the things that your burn-down chart can do, you use your burn-down chart to do, is to track the actual work that is being completed. As a Scrum Master, you want to look at your burn-down chart and say, okay, so the way we're working, because it shows when we go into it, you see how it shows day by day and everything. It's able to tell you if nothing has been done within a day by the team member. So you don't need to actually go on the board to say, I think I noticed this yesterday and it has not moved. Or did I not? Your burn down chart will tell you, because it records real time. Okay, you're able to track the actual work remaining, what is remaining, and look at the days that are remaining for that to be complete. And you use that to help the team, to motivate the team so that they're able to work better. So you don't use the chart to pressurize them, because then you might get low quality being added to the product. You don't want to do that, but you want to use it to motivate them. Peradventure, if they have not been, working the way they should work, you're able to use it to motivate them to work, increase their pace while they're working. Okay, so these are just samples of a burn-down chart. Benefits of a burn-down chart is easy to read. When we go through it now, you realize that it's easy to read and so easy to talk to you. It talks to you and it's very easy to read. It motivates the team, like I said earlier on, to focus and then to perform. And it helps to also maintain effective collaboration among the team members. Because, like I said, if you see a whole day when nothing is being done, team members, when they come to the DSU, are able to collaborate to say, okay, what happened? It might be an impediment. It might not be just because they're lazy and they're not doing what they need to do. It might be an impediment that has become a blocker and needs to be rectified or resolved, going forward. Also, it helps the team to know whether the deadline can be achieved or not, because it gives you a projection on it. Okay, so when we look at this, the second, the column on the right, we're able to see this is for a release burn-down chart. And as you can see, it totals the different sprints at the bottom. So if it's for a particular sprint, what you will be having at the bottom here will be the days of the sprint. Okay, and what you'll be having over here is the effort that has been committed to it, or the story points that has been committed to total story point that's committed during that sprint. And that reduces as you go further. If something is being done, it reduces. The yellow line up here is your original scope. So it's saying that when this sprint started, the original scope was 400. Okay. And then if you look at it, there is a gray line going on top of each of the bar. That is your burn down line. That is the one showing what has been done. So when it started with a scope of 400 here, when it got here, it has reduced to something like 320 or 330. So that shows you what has been done, and it reduced further. But when it comes here, there is an increase. That means there must have been a scope increase during that sprint. And your scope increase also during the time of the sprint, you're able to see it over here. You'll have a total scope increase. So that what that is telling you is that these were extra that were added to the sprint. Okay, and that's why you have this as the total scope increase. So your burn down will tell you once you've set it up, it will tell you the sprints, because this year we have release burn down, but the one that has the particular sprint will tell you the sprint. It gives you the date range of that particular sprint, and then you have an average burn down here. So what this is showing you is at the time when the project was at this sprint, this is the average burn down. When it's in the positive number, it's good. It's a positive information. When it has a negative in front of it, that is not so good, because then that what it's saying is that that sprint, particular sprint, or for its release burn down, has not been properly utilized. Okay, and then here you can see items not estimated. That's why I said your chart is a real life document, because here it's showing you that, oh, there are some items that has not been estimated. Okay, so you might not be having an actual story point when it comes to this place, because some stories have not been estimated. That is what this is showing you. And then this is showing you the main metric to say that these are the story points that are remaining that you've not carried out in this particular release. I will show you the sprint one also, but I just want to use this and all the features, because they are the same features you will see on your burn down chart. Okay, and like I said, this is the burn down line, and that's your total scope line. So quickly, let's go to the next one. Okay, so this is a sprint one. So over here we have an effort burn down chart, which also you can say is your story points burn down chart. So you can have a story point burn down chart. You can configure it to be a PBI burn down chart, which is your product backlog burn down chart, depending on what you configure it for you to be able to see. So for this sprint, you can see that is the same date range for both charts. Okay, but this is showing you, it's telling you that for its sprint 15 effort burn down chart, and it's saying it has 95% complete. So the green aspect of each bar is the one showing you what has been completed. You can see that down here, and the blue one is the one showing you what is remaining. So at the start of sprint, you can see that, and then you can see the scope. You can see the scope line over there. You can see the burn down line over there at the bottom there. Okay, and this helps you to have a very first time impression to say, okay, so as things are for this particular sprint, they didn't complete everything, yeah, but they completed a lot. And it's showing you here what has been completed, 95%. So this blue that you're seeing here is just 5% of everything that has been completed. And that's why the effort there is telling you that the efforts remaining to finish what needed to be done is 2. There was a scope increase of 2. And you can see that scope increase coming up here. Because over here, a lot of work has been reduced, but when it comes to this day, there was a scope increase. And the average burn down at the end of this sprint is telling you is an average burn down of 1. And then he's saying that regarding these 2, this 9% remaining is giving you a projection of when the sprint will be completed, which you cannot extend anyway, because it's a time box for just 2 weeks. But is telling you, giving you a projection to say that for everything to be completely done, based on the pace at which the team is working, it needs 2 more days. You can see it's putting a bracket there, and they say it needs 2 more days for things to be completed. But however, we do know that because the sprint has ended there, whatever is remaining there, if agreed by the PO and is still priority, will be spilled over into the next sprint. And then this is just the PBI version of the same sprint. Okay, so this was configured with efforts, the story points, and this was configured using just the user stories alone. So that tells you the number of user stories that are committed into sprint, about 12 of them or thereabout. They are increased. Yeah, they had some increase by the 4th day. And at the end, PBI wise, you have 90% completion. So this is the same sprint, and you can see that when it comes to effort, you have a 95% completion, and then when you come to the PBI, you have a 90% completion, and then you can see there, and that is projecting 6 more days. So you're saying if we look at the way you're working with your efforts, it takes you 2 more days to finish. But if you look at the way you've worked during the sprint with your PBI, it's a 6 more days to go. And you can see an average burn down of 1 here. You can see an average burn down of 0.4 here. Okay, even though it's showing you that it's 2 remaining, these 2 that is talking about here and these 2 are not the same. This is a 2 story point. This is a 2 user story. Okay, and the scope, the total scope increase over here is efforts, and the total scope increase here is 10. So 10 user stories were added more to the sprint. That is what this is telling you. Okay, so that is a sample of your sorry, bear with me, burn down chart. Okay, so you can also configure your burn down chart to show you the task. So we can configure it with effort, we can configure it with user story, you can configure it also with task. So that's the task burn down chart. Again, you can see that the numbers on them are different. So you have an average burn down here of a minus, you have a completed percentage there of 82, and then the tasks that were increased during the sprint, you can see this is what they started with, but because maybe the more they're working, they realize, okay, the developer has finished working, I as the tester, I'm picking it up and I'm creating my task against that story. You can see the increase as you go along. And then that is for a bug. So if you have a bug during the sprint, you also want to do a chart for it to say, okay, so the bug was committed into that sprint, not at the start of sprint, but during sprint. So the tester carried out the work and realized there's a bug, raised the bug. Yeah, part of the bug were worked on over here. How many bugs were committed into sprint is like about 2 of them. Okay, so maybe 1 of them was completed over here, and then but at the end of the sprint, the whole thing was completed, and that's why you have 100% over here. And then the average burn down is 0 because everything was completed. Okay, and then we have some scope increase also. So more bugs were raised, as you can see, during the course of the sprint, and then you have no bugs remaining because you have everything being worked on during that sprint. Okay, quickly we want to look at the velocity chart. So what's your velocity chart? Is it again visual and graphics representation that displays the team's planned work and actual completed work over a period of time, over a time frame, not just for one sprint. You're looking at it the way they're working over some period of a period of time, and it only calculates stories that are completed, 100% completed. Your velocity chart won't calculate what you've done 99.9% complete. It won't calculate it. It only calculates what has been 100% completed. And what you use it to do is you can use it, like I said, to plan, where you use it to measure the team's completed work against what was planned. Okay, so if we look at the graphics here, we're going to go into a sample, but just quickly to look at the graphics here, the light green one was what was planned. This is what we planned to do. The dark green one is what we eventually ended up doing. Again, this is what we planned to do. This is what we eventually ended up doing. This is what we plan to do and everything. So you can see over a period of time for this team, when they started, they were able to increase work they were doing. And then the next sprint, work dropped. They worked, what was completed was less than what they had to do. And then they increased their work, what they needed to do. They couldn't complete everything again, and they increased again. Okay, so what this helps you to look at is to look at this chart and say that, okay, so how are we working? Are we performing better, or are we not performing well? What do we need to improve? Because if you look at it here, they started here, they were able to do this. Okay, so they increase it. Okay, so that's still okay because they were able to do more. You would expect, and because they were able to do that much, they reduced what they needed to do the next sprint to what they were able to complete this sprint, as you can see. So they planned almost the same thing that were able to complete was what they planned here, and then they did less. But look at what they did in the next sprint. They now planned more work. You did less over here, but when you were going to plan for what you were going to do in the next sprint, you even planned more than what you planned prior to the other sprint. And then, okay, so they were able to complete more than what they did, but, it was still too much. And then even though they were not able to complete that, the next sprint, they took it higher. So they were not working, they're not following their velocity chart while they're working. They are not allowing it to guide them when they are committing or planning work that they needed to do. So it's kind of erratic if you look at it. It's not sustainable, kind of. It doesn't give a rhythm, kind of. Okay, so that's what you use your velocity chart. That is what you helps you to track. It tracks your workflow. It tracks the pace at which you work over a period of time, and then it measures for you also how long it will take for you to complete the project. Because if you look at the erratic way this team is working, they're not working in a sustainable pattern. And then you can say, with the way they are working, we might not be able to finish this project to timeline that the organization or the client wants us to finish it with. That's what your velocity charts can help you to do. Okay, so what is the benefit of a velocity chart? It's easy to read, as you can see. It helps the team to improve performance. We look at it, we use it, we inspect it, and then we improve our process and our working pattern and our performance as we go along. It helps the team to forecast on the number of stories that they can deliver in the future sprint, because you look at how you've been working and then you just decide to follow the average velocity, because your velocity chart will give you an average velocity, average velocity of what you can do. So you want to follow that so that you can use that to kind of improve your performance as you go along. Okay, it also helps you to know the efforts that you can commit to in future sprints, like I've said, and then it helps you to negotiate scope increase. So because in a situation where you planned something and there are other addition to it, you're able to show that chart to the product owner, not just the product owner, even the stakeholders that brings in the increase and all that, and then to tell them that, okay, the way it's erratic, that is not consistent, we might not be able to finish to timeline, and that helps to reduce the scope increase, that keeps coming into the sprint. And then there are some things we need to consider when you're using your velocity chart. Your velocity chart you can only use the information on your velocity chart to forecast, when your team remains constant. Okay, so you've used the same, you can only use it to do the same capacity. In a situation where you are having different team composition, when your capacity is changing, it will affect your velocity. Because it will affect what you take into the sprint. Yeah, you might need to plan for less. And so you can't just, that's when it becomes erratic, because your composition also is erratic. But when your composition is constant, then you can use it to plan. You can use it to forecast what you need to do. Okay. And then you can only use your PBI or your effort on your velocity chart. You can't use task. You can't use your bug. You can only configure it using your PBI or your effort to be able to get accuracy on it. Okay, and then work is considered planned when it is committed into the sprint at the sprint start date. So you can only see that planned aspect of it when you commit to that work at the sprint start date. When you commit to those work the next date, you'll still see the completed work. You won't see the planned chart, the planned bar of it. So let's quickly look at there's an example of what I'm saying. So the blue one is the planned, and then the green one is what was completed. So at the bottom here, you can see this is planned, this is completed. The dark green one is what was completed during the sprint. The light green one is what is completed late, and then the blue is incomplete. So overall in this velocity chart, we can see that this was what was planned. That they completed a lot of work late, and they just completed just a few of it, percentage of it on time. Okay, and based on that, you can see the next time they were planning, they didn't increase it. They were able to do just a bit of it, and they were able to complete a lot on time. They still completed late, they were able to complete on time. So when you look at this team's velocity over a period of time, they complete most of their work late. You can see that. Most times when they were able to do much, they're completing the work late. And when it means completing the work late, these are works that are completed maybe a bit after the sprint. Maybe the sprint finished on a Friday, and people are still able to work maybe on the days before the next sprint planning starts. And that is what you see. And this is what I was saying, that it will give you an average velocity. So it's saying story points per sprint. Average velocity is telling this team not to take in more than 39 story points when they're going to go into their next sprint, based on their performance over a period of eight sprints. So this has been configured for the last 8 sprints, and that is what it's telling them here, that don't take in more than this. If they're able to take in this and they finish it, in the next sprint, it will give them another average velocity that they can work with. Because the chart, you want to pick the information on the chart and follow the information you have on the chart also as you go ahead. Okay, so this is an effort velocity chart. Like I said, you can only do effort and PBI on it. So this is an effort velocity chart. For this team, you can see when they at this particular time when they started, we've done for the last 4 iterations. Over here, they planned quite a little bit of work to do, and they're able to complete everything on time also. And as a result of that, they planned a lot, and when they planned a lot in the next sprint, they completed everything. They completed late. So you can see that in going to the next sprint, they didn't plan, they didn't commit to much as they've done before, but they didn't bring it down to follow what was completed, to the level of what was completed. And then they also started completing late, and then they had some that were completed on time, and then some that were completed late. And then in the course of the next sprint also, they still committed to more, and they were able to complete everything. So it's a team that is getting better as they go along. Because you can see here a situation where they did everything late. So they said, okay, let's increase it a bit, and they were able to complete everything that they put in. And that's for the same team. This is their PBI. This is the effort PBI for the same team, and this is the PBI, the stories, the number of stories that were taken in. That's the number of stories they planned to do. That's the number of stories they were able to complete. And then that's the one they planned to do there. They reduced it here. They completed less. Okay, and then they took it high again. And then so you can see a situation of an erratic situation here also. So they're taking it up, they're not finishing. They're still taking it up, they're not finishing. And that means it's possible that they are not following the average velocity. And as you can see, because it's erratic, look at what the average velocity is telling them, that they can only take in 3 stories, which is not really a good way, a good performance for the team. And that's because of the erratic situation of their chart. Okay, so where do you find your chart on your Azure DevOps, which is your collaborative tool? So you find it, which we've seen already, on your dashboard. You know, you can create multiple charts on your dashboard. You can also see it on your backlog. When you're on your main board also, you're able to see it there in your sprint backlog. You're able to see it in your product backlog page. That's the main board. You're able to see it there under analytics. If you go under analytics, you're able to see your velocity charts in that one. When you go on your sprint backlog, you're able to see under analytics, you'll see your sprint burndown chart, because that's the sprint. For the main backlog, it will show you your velocity charts. It will show you your sprint burndown chart. Okay, and then the sources is there. These are the widgets that are added to your dashboard from the marketplace extension that your project board supplier is giving you. Okay, so that is the end for our capacity and our burndown, our chart, our Scrum chart. Okay, so any questions? I'm going to stop sharing. We have one more topic to go. I doubt if we're able to that tonight. We might need to arrange that for another time. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording.